We've talked about Gohan and Videl. We've talked about Vegeta and Bulma. We've talked about Krillin and 18. There is only one relationship left to talk about in Dragon Ball, and that is, of course, between the patriarch and matriarch of the series in many ways, Goku and ChiChi. And Super Jayain is here joining me as always as we break down this relationship. But the thing is, Jay, you and I tried to break down this relationship before, and it became a little bit of a struggle because one of the things that I've realized in thinking about this video and coming up with this topic and, our discussion is that in many ways, Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship is an example of what not to do.
Yeah, it's a hard one to talk about too, because it doesn't have as much of a dynamic to talk about as, previous ones we've done, like Bulma and Vegeta, Gohan and Videl. There's not as much there. I mean, Goku was really, he was shown the door by Chi-Chi on this relationship stuff. He didn't even really know that Chi-Chi liked him. So it's really hard to talk about early on in Dragon Ball, because really, like, sometimes you even wonder, how the fuck did these guys even get married? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean it's funny because this relationship, unlike the other ones that we talked about, Gohan, Videl, Bulma, Vegeta, this one is not very realistic, folks. Pretty much, for those who may not remember, who never saw Dragon Ball, which is unfortunate, this relationship started when Goku patted Chi-Chi on the vagina to see if she was a man, and then she blushed. That's literally how this relationship began. And real quick word of advice, and for those who don't know, when me and Jay do these videos, they're pretty much about like applying Dragon Ball relationships to real life psychology. That's what we're doing with these things and real life game. And I hate to say it, unfortunately this is not the case, folks, but if you're out there looking for a girlfriend and your strategy is to go around patting their vaginas, you're not going to get a girlfriend. In fact, the only thing you might get is a couple of nights in jail, a sexual harassment charge. You may have to register as a sex offender, but you're not going to get a girlfriend most likely.
Yeah, it's funny too, because Bulma said early on in the series not to do that multiple times, yet the first time he meets her, he still does it.
He didn't know any better. But of course, later on as the series progresses, we do see Chi-Chi appear once again in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. She's a badass chick. She has curves now. She's grown up. She fights Goku. Goku tries not to hurt her. He knocks her out of the ring with air. She is in love with him, and Goku already agreed to marry her, and she took it. So I mean, not very realistic, but again, it's not supposed to be realistic. It's a freaking show about aliens fighting each other. I mean, what do you expect? But one thing I will say about their relationship that I have noticed is that they do have a loving relationship. They have a comedic sitcom type of relationship, and I do feel that Chi-Chi loves Goku because one thing we should definitely talk about, Jay, is that I feel that Chi-Chi, because Goku beat her up without actually hurting her, he used the wind, I think that she knows that her husband is the strongest fighter in the world at the time. And probably even, I mean, not now because there's Whis around, but you know what I mean. He's one of the strongest in the universe, and he knows that she will always be there to protect him. And women, most women really like a guy who's going to protect them. They really, and you gotta understand, guys, this is not some macho bullshit. This is scientifically proven based on the survival, the hunter-gatherer survival aspect of relationships and of male and female psychology. Women, again, not saying that they're not strong or anything. I'm just saying that women want to feel protected by a man emotionally, financially, physically.
Exactly, yeah. And Chi-Chi really, she, like you said, it's unrealistic. She basically fell in love with Goku because Goku patted her on the vagina, and she blushed a little bit. She couldn't believe that happened, and basically fell in love with Goku. You could argue from that point in time she became infatuated with Goku. She started talking about marriage almost straight away, if I remember correctly. So it's one of those things. It's not realistic, but when you get to the Z portion of the show, it does become very, very much more interesting for me, because their relationship's actually happening. They're married, they have a house, they have a son together, and you get to see how it kind of works. It's strange because even though Goku is, and this is pointed up, like this is brought up several times in the series, even though Goku is the strongest character in the series for the most part, he's at the mercy of Chi-Chi. He still will do whatever Chi-Chi says because, Chi-Chi, even though Goku protects Chi-Chi and, goes out and works in Super and helps provide for the household. I'm not saying Chi-Chi doesn't provide for the household, but, Goku goes out and does his bit. Chi-Chi's very much wearing the pants in that relationship. You know, if Goku doesn't do what she says, you know, he's not going to cook. She's not going to cook for him. And you know, like you said, it is a sitcom relationship. There's a very comedic side to it, and even in Z, even though you get more of a situation, like you can view the relationship in Z a lot more than you can in Dragon Ball, it's still not a realistic relationship in Z. Either the marriage, that's just not how marriages work. You know, they're equal. You know, I'm sure some marriages out there might be a bit like that, but most of them aren't. But yeah, I mean, they've just got different priorities. Goku likes fighting. Chi-Chi wants to raise a family together and make Gohan a scholar. So it's very different from any other relationship in Dragon Ball. Because even Bulma and Vegeta, you know, Vegeta just does his own thing, and Bulma almost never nags Vegeta. So it's very different, very different.
I feel like as Toriyama's writing evolved, I feel like the relationship evolved and became more realistic. Right? That's how I see it. Because, you know, you're right. They have that dynamic, but Goku does bring home the bacon when he can, and he's always there to protect Chi-Chi no matter what. And she does nag, but they do have a son together. So there is realism there. Now, the one thing I wanted to kind of spring off this topic here is, you know, with Goku patting her vagina, that's a very awkward version of Kino. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, okay, what is Kino? Kino is short for kinesthetics. And basically the way that what I'm going to get to here, and Jay, you and I are going to go really like into real life at this point, is touching. Okay, now understand what I'm trying to tell you. All right, because a lot of people, I've noticed a lot of guys nowadays, they're kind of afraid to touch a woman. Now I don't mean touch in a sexual way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about touching, like, you know, grab her hand, put your arm around her.
In a playful way. It can even be in a playful way.
Exactly. And the thing that you have to understand about human beings, those of you listening who might not know, I'm sure some of you guys know this for sure, some people might not know, is that with people, we actually like being touched. And one of the things that actually can build attraction between you and a female is if you touch her, you grab her arm, you grab her by the hand. Like, there's a reason why, you know, you people hold hands. There's a reason why you can grab a girl by both her hands, and, like, you know, there's little tricks, like you can rub her her wrist. That's a classic technique. These are basically hardwired into a female to actually become attracted, you know, like eye contact. There's a whole lot of research you can do on kind of mating techniques, and touching a woman's vagina and patting it's not going to work in real life. Not
and in a relationship, not outside a relationship, guys. Don't go doing this in public, but in a relationship, some chicks, or most chicks, I would say, love it when you give them a nice smack on the ass. It's just the way it goes.
That's after you're already dating them. Yes, if you go out to the club and do that, it might not be a good idea. But the important thing, really, that one thing I've learned in my travels, Jay, and I want you to kind of give me some of your opinions on this, is the importance of body language. You know, a girl, the way she looks at you, the way she acts when you're around, the way that she smiles, the eye contact, I've been able to successfully pinpoint, and this is all based on experience and on reading, you know, reading up on this stuff. I've been able to successfully pinpoint attraction 9 times out of 10 based on a woman's body language. So even if a girl rejects you, or even if she's a little bit standoffish, if her body language is in a certain way, if she has her head tilted a certain way, if her eyes are dilated, if she smiles when you're around, these are ways you can tell if a girl likes you. And that's really, to me, Jay, that's even more important than what she says, because she can say whatever the fuck she wants, but if her body language is saying I want you, that's what you follow.
And another one is some girls will play with their hair, or curl their hair, twirl their hair around their finger. Like, that's not always flirting, but sometimes it can be taken. Like, a girl will give off really, really subtle signs, and it'll be subliminal to the point that she doesn't even know she's doing it.
Exactly.
These are things, if you know what you're doing and you've had experience with it in the past, you will pick up on these things.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this who know exactly what we're talking about, including girls. Like, you know, and the thing is with guys is that a lot of guys are so afraid to just reach out and touch them. And like I said, not sexually. You don't want to honk or tit or anything like that. But there are certain things that girls, you know, okay, I'm just going to break it down like this. We don't have time to go into a step-by-step. You know, Jay, we don't have time to go into like a step-by-step how to, you know, go from attraction to comfort. We don't have time for that. That's like a 4-hour video we could do. But the thing is, if you're initially talking to a girl and there's a little bit of attraction, some chemistry, you're making jokes, she's laughing, and you touch her arm, you have to do it very playfully. If you just grab her arm, you're going to come off like a creep. But if you do it very playfully, you know, or grab her by the wrist or by the hand and pull her towards you, pull her around, twirl her around. There's different, you know, I can't really do it on the video. It has to be done like Yeah, I have to actually film myself talking about what we're talking about here. But you know what I mean? Like things
Yeah.
like that actually increase attraction, and more importantly, they increase comfort. And the reality is, guys, a girl's not going to sleep with you or date you if they're not comfortable around you. So if you initiate the Kino early, and you can just look up Kino Escalation or kinesthetics, and you'll learn a lot about it. Just look it up. If you initiate the touching and she reciprocates, then that's an invite to, okay, I'm interested. Talk to me more.
Yeah, exactly. And half the battle, and this is why this relationship with Goku and ChiChi is so unrealistic, because just the way he does it is just off by a mile. Touching her on the vagina is just fucking stupid. But that's just the humor of Dragon Ball, and that's why it's hilarious. But yeah, but the thing here is as well, the other thing that you brought up is making a girl laugh. If you can make a girl laugh at you, and if she laughs at your. See, the other thing that you will pick up on that you haven't brought up yet is if a girl laughs at stuff sometimes you say that's not even funny, that's
Yeah.
another sign that she's. So there's a lot of things here with girls. There's just a lot of times. But if you can make a girl actually genuinely laugh, and you can tell that she's genuinely smiling and happy when she's talking to you, that really is half the battle won right there, because you're already starting to make a connection. The next step is, and like we said, we're not going to go into the details. The next step is, if you've got that connection, is how to turn that connection into an attraction. So that's why the whole relationship with Goku is so unrealistic, but it's fun. It's a fun relationship, and it's
I
like you
agree.
said, it's more of a sitcom relationship, yes, because it is so unrealistic. It's kind of like your relationships almost that you see on TV shows, like Everybody Loves Raymond. You know, Raymond's always getting nagged by his wife, sort of thing. But it's just one of those things. It's not a realistic relationship. It's TV. It's a TV relationship, but it's got a bit of Dragon Ball humor to it, and that's why it's such an interesting relationship to look at. Because even though Bulma and Vegeta and Gohan and Videl make a lot more sense in real life, if you were translating it to real life, Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship is the most fun to watch on the show, and that's
I
because it is
agree.
the most unrealistic one. Yeah. So
Well, the Vegeta and Bulma one with Super starting to kind of get a little more fun. Like I'm enjoying their interactions a little bit more lately, but that's more of a new thing, not in the original manga or in the old anime.
yeah,
You know, but like I just wanted you to real quick before we get out of here, kind of briefly touch on your on Kino, because to me, again, guys, you can look this up about how to properly touch a female in a way that because there's ways you can touch a girl
uh,
where it's not sexual, but you're still kind of triggering certain hardwired attraction mechanisms. I hate to say it, but it's true. I mean, we're all animals at heart. Same thing with dudes, and girls like to be kind of. And there's a reason why girls. You see pictures of like girls like they like to be held a certain way. There's a certain way you can hug a girl. There's certain things you can do to make them feel more comfortable. Because to me, Jay, in my experience, it's always been attraction first, right? Chemistry, and then comfort. Once they get comfortable with you, if a girl's not comfortable with you, you're not going to get anywhere. She has to get comfortable with you and trust you. You have to build that trust, and then it might blossom into a real relationship.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you can't really teach people these things over the internet. You know, I do little things like I might when I'm talking to a chick and meeting her for the first time, or if I'm hanging out with a chick, I might do something playful, like just bump her in the arm with my arm while I'm telling her a joke and make her laugh. Just really really small things that kind of initiate contact. And then as you get more and more comfortable with each other, you can kind of take it up a level. But the real thing for me to figure out whether a girl before the whole touch thing is it's in the eyes. Like the eyes are also a good indication. Body language and the eyes. If a girl's making eye contact with you, you can generally tell whether she's interested or not. That's another thing. But the
Well, yeah,
contact
but
is just one thing.
I'm sorry, I'm not, but there are certain ways that she has to look at you though. Like
Yeah,
her pupils being dilated. If she looks away, looks back, looks away, looks back, looks away, looks back. That's usually a good sign too. It might also mean she's nervous though.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of factors there, but the whole touching thing is very very. You got to be careful with it. You don't want to overdo it. You just want to be playful with it, but you don't want to overdo it. When you're making that connection with a girl and you're initiating touch into the friendship, so to speak, or the relationship, whatever you want to use
It
here.
should be very natural. It should not
Yeah,
be forced. Because if you come off
yeah,
forced, you're a creep.
yeah, you creep and you're going to seem desperate. So, but I only do very small things. Like I might bump her on the arm. I'm sure every guy's done that before. You kind of elbow them in the arm just to make a little bit of contact. Or you might do something like pat them on the shoulder, or just give them like here's the funny thing. Like you could even there's different scenarios where you could.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at too.
Yeah,
You're right.
I mean, I've given female friends shoulder massages before, and sometimes it's gone places, sometimes it's gone nowhere. You kind of just got to see. I'm serious. You just got to seize the moment sometimes, and some chicks love having a shoulder massage.
And not just that, but Jay, they will get turned on. Like a lot of girls, if you go in there and you touch them, again, not sexually, very casually, a lot of girls like it when you hug them from behind. Now, obviously, there's a lot of hardwired.
I feel that's more of a relationship thing though. Like I personally, with a friend, I wouldn't go and hug her from behind. I feel that's more of a couple thing.
Well, yes, but the thing is, it all depends on how smooth you are. See, if you're smooth, it all comes down to, again, you have to develop kind of a personality where you're very playful, like you said. And if you're very playful, everything you do just comes off so natural. Even though you might have in your head a plan, it comes off very natural. So, and you got to be the man, bro. You got to be a desirable guy who she wants to be around. If you can associate, if you can have a girl associate good feelings with you, and vice versa, same thing goes for girls and guys. Like if I have a woman who every time I think about her, I think positive vibes and good times, that's really where the love comes from, dude. That's real, like, attraction, bro, when you have that.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
It's
anyways,
got to
we're
be
out of
someone.
here.
It's got to be someone you want to spend time with. If you don't, if you want to spend time with the person, it just makes it all the more easier. There's no point in being in a relationship for the sake of being in a relationship.
I
That's what I usually say.
I agree with that. All right. Well, hope everybody enjoyed the video. Leave your comments down there below. I know a lot of this wasn't that Dragon Ball related, but the Kino stuff kind of made me think about it. Don't go around patting girls' pussies, but also don't be afraid to touch them, on their wrist, on their shoulder, put your arm around them. Of course, you have to build
And
up to that. Don't
and
do it right off.
one of my favorite saying, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, man.
No, go ahead.
As I always say, and this is aimed at the
I,
girls and the guys out there. The girls will agree with me.
I
Every
love it.
girl I say this to agrees with me. And if you're a guy and you disagree with me, well, I'm sorry, you're wrong. I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. Girls already have pussies. They don't need a pussy, so don't be a pussy.
That's it, yo. That's it. Grab the bull by the horns and make her yours, man. Trust me, girls want to be wanted, just like we do. So,
Yep.
all right, we'll catch y'all down the road.